Okay, so let's jump right in. Tucked away in the very last chapter of the Bible, there's this promise, and it's one of the most profound promises ever made to humanity. It points to this future, this kind of ultimate intimacy that really has been longed for since the very beginning. So, we're going to unpack what it truly means. And here it is, Revelation 22, verse 4. And they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads. Wow, it's beautiful, it's powerful, but it's also pretty mysterious, right? Seeing a face, having a name on your forehead, what are we really talking about here? And that's really the core question, isn't it? Because this isn't just about literally seeing something with your eyes. No, this is about a kind of access, an intimacy, a complete and total union that changes literally everything. So what does it mean to gaze upon the one who created it all? Well, to get that, we actually have to go back and understand why, for so long, it was completely forbidden. So let's rewind the tape a bit. For most of biblical history, seeing God directly wasn't just, not allowed. It was deadly. There was this huge separation, this veil between God and people, and it had very, very real consequences. And you have to think about who God is saying this to. I mean, this is Moses, the guy the Bible describes as speaking with God as a man speaketh unto his friend. Yet even him, even Moses, with this incredible closeness, gets this super stark warning. He desperately wanted to see God's full glory, but under the Old Covenant, that barrier was just absolute. So this is the key thing to get. It wasn't just some arbitrary rule, it was a picture of a spiritual reality. There was a huge distance. The relationship was often defined by fear and all these limitations. Access was veiled, and humanity was still carrying the shame from the fall. Understanding this past is so important because it's the only way we can really appreciate the absolute game-changing moment that was coming. This was the problem that needed a divine solution. And that solution? Well, it arrived in the most dramatic way you can imagine. The sources describe this one single moment in history when that ancient barrier, that veil of separation, was literally torn in two, from top to bottom. And that didn't just change a rule, it changed reality itself. And this just lays it out so clearly, the incredible shift. That old reality of distance, it gives way to intimacy. Fear gets replaced by this holy boldness. Separation is transformed into an unbreakable union. And this matters so much because it's not just some abstract theology. It's a blueprint for a totally different way of living. Where there used to be a hard stop, a barrier, there is now an open invitation right into God's presence. This verse is the absolute key. Did you catch it? With unveiled face, the barrier is gone. But it gets even better. It says that in the very act of beholding, of seeing his glory, something amazing happens to us. We are transformed. So you see, seeing isn't passive, it's participatory. And that's why this whole promise is so vital. It's not about looking at something far away. It's about becoming someone completely new. So here's how it all works, step by step. First, the veil is torn apart by the cross, which just completely removes the barrier of sin. Second, because of that, God's glory can be seen perfectly in the person of Jesus. And third, and this is the beautiful result, as we look at him, we are actually changed, transformed into his very image. It's this incredible progression from access to adoration to total transformation. Now let's grab that second part of our verse, because it builds on this idea. It's not just that we get to see his face, but that his name shall be in their foreheads. Now, this isn't a literal tattoo or something. It's a really deep symbol of identity and, well, of belonging. So in ancient thinking, the forehead was basically the control center. It stood for your mind, your will, your whole way of thinking, your very identity. So whenever the Bible talks about something being written on the forehead, it's talking about something that defines who you are at your absolute core. So what does this divine mark actually mean for us? Well, it means we are sealed by his ownership. We belong to him, period. It means we're given the mind of Christ. And this is huge because it means our core identity isn't defined by our jobs or our mistakes anymore. It is permanently sealed in him. We are literally being rewired to think his thoughts and live from his heart. Okay, let's pull all these threads together. It's really tempting to think of all this as just, a return ticket to the Garden of Eden, like we're just fixing what was broken. But the sources are so clear. This is not just a restoration. It is an elevation to something way greater and more secure than what was lost. You remember this image, right? After the fall, humanity gets kicked out of Eden, and this flaming sword is put at the gate. It was the ultimate symbol of separation, basically a divine no-entry sign blocking the way back to God's presence and to eternal life. But because of the work of the Lamb, that sword is gone. The barrier has been removed. The way isn't just unblocked, it has been thrown wide open, permanently. Justice has been fully satisfied, and the path back to God is now crystal clear. And this, right here, is why it's so much better than Eden. We aren't just put back in a state of innocence that could be lost again. No, we are transformed into true holiness. Adam's relationship was fragile. Ours is an unbreakable union. So the bottom line is this. We haven't just been given back a garden. We've been brought into union with Jesus Christ himself. And that means our standing with God is infinitely more secure than Adam's ever was. And that brings us right to our final thought. The sources really insist that seeing his face and bearing his name isn't just a someday promise for after we die. It's a spiritual reality we can start walking in right now. So the challenge this leaves us with is a big one. What actually changes in our day-to-day lives, in our confidence, our identity, our purpose, when we really truly start to live like that veil is already gone?